A single backward glance can turn you to stone, freezing your future at the very threshold of freedom. That's the powerful and practical warning at the heart of Frank Onisi's book, The Pillar of Salt, Lot, Sodom, and the Backward Glance. Onisi offers an esoteric and psychological interpretation of the biblical story of Lot's escape from the cities of the plain, viewing it as a map for navigating the inner journey of leaving the past behind without becoming emotionally petrified. Onisi insists that this isn't a historical account or a theological teaching. Instead, he presents Sodom as a metaphor for an expired state of one's own consciousness, never any actual place or people in the world. It represents a self-concept, a relationship, a pattern, or an identity that has grown stagnant and no longer serves your growth. Its destruction isn't a tragedy, but a liberation, a necessary burning away of the old to clear ground for the new. Now, it's crucial to understand what this counsel against looking back truly means. Onisi makes it clear it's not about suppressing emotions, denying real pain, skipping the work of grieving a loss, or avoiding the healing of trauma. There's a vast difference between looking back to relive and preserve a wound, which freezes you, and looking back to understand, grieve, and heal it, which frees you. The book warns only against the petrifying kind of rumination, honoring the healing process as wise and often necessary. If you're struggling with grief or trauma, the support of a qualified professional is invaluable, and this inner work walks alongside such help, never in place of it. Similarly, when Onisi speaks of letting the old burn or making a clean break, he means releasing an inner state, a self-concept, or a limiting pattern. He's not advocating for rash abandonment of relationships, responsibilities, or the people who support you. Real-world changes deserve wisdom, patience, and counsel. This book is about an inner liberation, not impulsive, isolating actions. It's about keeping your supports, tending your healing, and reading The Escape from Sodom as a profound inner work. Let's break down this inner map. Sodom represents that expired state of your consciousness. Its destruction is the necessary clearing. The visiting angels are your higher promptings, your intuition, arriving to lead you out. The command to flee is the call to detach from that old reality. Lingering is your hesitation. The backward glance and the pillar of salt are the petrifying rumination on the past. And the mountain is the elevated state of assumption, where your awakened consciousness defines your inner state and becomes your outer world. The cities, the flight, and the mountain are all psychological. The first step in this journey is recognizing that an old state has reached its end. Everything in your life is a sustained state, not a fixed fact. Your circumstances, roles, and self-image exist because your consciousness is currently sustaining them. Since nothing simply is, but rather is being sustained, it can also be released. When a state that once served you, a relationship, a self-concept, a pattern, grows stagnant, toxic, or dead, it becomes a Sodom. Its destruction, the burning away of the old, isn't a tragedy but a liberation. We often suffer not from the destruction itself, but from our frantic efforts to prevent it, trying to protect a city that needs to burn. The fire is mercy, clearing the ground so something new can grow. Next comes the call to leave, which arrives as the visitors at the door. These angels aren't external beings, but higher promptings of your own consciousness, the quiet voice of intuition telling you a situation has died, that you've outgrown an identity. These promptings are often subtle, easily dismissed, but persistent. The moment this call arrives, the old state mobilizes its resistance. Fears, habits, and familiar voices clamor against the door of your awareness, trying to silence this messenger of change. Onisi suggests that a truly received prompting blinds these clamoring attachments, robbing them of their power, allowing them to exhaust themselves. So you must receive these promptings and trust their quiet insistence over the loud resistance of the familiar. Once the call is received, it becomes a command to flee. This means total detachment from the expired state. You simply cannot inhabit the old state and the new one simultaneously. To keep one foot in the old reality is to continue sustaining it. This isn't just about leaving the worst parts, it's about leaving the plane, the whole region of the old reality. The command is urgent, escape for thy life, because remaining in an expired state is to be consumed by it. It's a matter of life and death, an urgent flight where any delay is a day spent in the fire. This complete break means starving the old self, withdrawing your attention, speech, and company from what keeps it alive. This clean break is for your consciousness. It doesn't mean abandoning real-world responsibilities or relationships. Even with this clear command, we often linger. Lot himself hesitated. This lingering is the inertia of the sustained state, the weight of everything familiar that pulls against taking a step into the unknown. The danger of lingering is that the fire doesn't wait. But here, Onaisi points to a profound mercy, the seizing of the hand. When we can't move ourselves, a grace beyond our own will can seize us and pull us out. This might look like a circumstance that ends a situation we couldn't end ourselves, or a door closing that we couldn't bring ourselves to shut. This isn't punishment, but mercy, helping us escape the state our own will couldn't leave. So we must recognize our lingering, and when the hand reaches, let ourselves be drawn out. And then the central warning, the backward glance. Lot's wife looks back and becomes a pillar of salt. Why salt? In the ancient world, salt was a preservative. Onaisi explains that to become a pillar of salt is to become frozen in the act of preserving. The backward glance is not neutral memory, it's an attempt to preserve the past, to hold the dead state against its passing. In doing so, you yourself become preserved, rigid, and unable to move forward. This is the emotional petrification of one who constantly relives an old wound or failure. Again, this is distinct from genuine grieving and healing. Healing lays a wound to rest. Reliving, in this petrifying sense, keeps it perpetually open. To turn from the salt means catching that petrifying glance and deliberately redirecting your gaze toward the mountain, toward your forward vision. The backward glance is so hard to resist because of the temptation of the familiar. Our ego prefers a painful but known reality over a beautiful but unknown one. It craves predictability and safety more than happiness. The old state, even if miserable, was mapped. The new is uncharted. This pullback isn't longing for happiness, but for the known, the familiar identity. Looking back is a subconscious act of self-sabotage, affirming the old state as more real than the new. Onaisi advises unmasking this pull as the ego's fear, affirming that the old self no longer exists, and building a bridge in imagination that goes only forward, toward the mountain. Finally, the journey culminates in living on the mountain. This isn't a geographical place, but an elevated state of consciousness, a high place of vision and constant assumption. From the plane of immediate circumstances, everything feels overwhelming. From the mountain, you survey your whole life from above, seeing things in proportion. Dwelling on the mountain means continuously maintaining the assumption of your new reality, filling your mental space with what you're building, not what you've left. On the mountain, your identity is redefined by your destiny, not your history. You're no longer the one who lost the job, but the one who is building something new. This transformation means the backward glance loses its power, because the whole vision of where you're going fills your eyes. The mountain may feel strange or lonely at first, with its thin air. This is simply the disorientation of a new elevated state, an acclimatization period. Endure it, and the height will become your home. Dwelling on the mountain also means building there, turning assumed reality into an actual lived life. And while your home is the mountain, you can still descend to the plane for necessary work, engaging the world and your responsibilities, as long as you don't take up residence there in consciousness again. You act in the world from the elevated assumption, doing what needs to be done, then returning to the height. Ultimately, this journey leads to becoming a living soul, a consciousness defined not by the city you left, your past mistakes, or your losses, but by your future and the reality you are creating. Onaisi reminds us that you are the awareness that moves between states, the soul that survives the burning of every Sodom. This profound journey of inner transformation, from recognizing the expired state to ascending the mountain, is meticulously laid out by Frank Onaisi in The Pillar of Salt. If this discussion resonated with you, consider sharing this episode with someone who might benefit from this perspective on leaving the past behind.